Hi, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're putting the spotlight on one of our amazing clients, Victoria's Secrets and Company, whose ethics and compliance team recently won the Gold Brandon Hall Group Award for Best Compliance Training. We're excited to be joined by the brilliant minds behind this achievement, Billy Hughes, AVP of Anti-Corruption and Third-Party Risk Management, Kim Jenkins, Manager of Compliance Training and Policies, and Kasie Clouser, Senior Manager of Ethics and Compliance. Today, we'll explore the innovative approach that led to this prestigious recognition. We'll dive into the inspiration behind their award-winning program and the key elements that set it apart, and the profound impact it has had within the organization. Let's jump right in and uncover the story behind the remarkable success. First, can all of you guys just do a quick introduction of yourselves?
Billy Hughes, hi. One of the AVPs on the ethics and compliance team. Day job is everything related to third-party risk management and kind of vetting all of our partners all around the world, but also do a lot of work around training and policies and strategy related to those things. So when I joined VS about 3 years ago, one of the first projects that we started talking about was reimagining our anti-harassment training and building something new. And so Kim helped me lead that project. So maybe Kim, you can go next.
Sure. I came over from privacy and data protection, and our large project out the gate was anti-harassment training. For me, it was really interesting because it was a culmination of my experience in curriculum development, being able to deliver training, but this was an opportunity to really produce a video. And so having a director's hat was fun. So that was great. And currently, I'm working on our digital build out for our code of conduct.
Kasie?
Yeah. So I am Kasie Clouser. I joined right after the spinoff. So technically the longest tenured VS and co-associate on the call, or on the ethics and compliance team. Sorry, Kim, forgot. But started really overseeing our Speak Up program, and I still do today. And so with that, obviously lots of great sort of inspiration for our scenarios and our training, and really trying to use some of those real life examples to speak to our associates and be relevant. So but now in the training space and sort of all things go forward training are under my hat, I guess, and contributed to the rollout of this training, which was very fun and lots of learnings there. So excited to be here.
Excited to have all of you guys. It sounds like everybody has been working together for some time. That relationship, I feel like, creates a lot of synergy too. So Billy, let's dive right in and spill the tea. How did the compliance training program come about? Was there a specific moment that inspired it, or were you just itching to try something fresh and exciting?
So a little bit of everything. So there was some kind of organizational urgency around us doing this. Victoria's Secret, Kasie talked about spin. So about 3 years ago, VS had an IPO, spinning off of L Brands, which was the sort of previous company. And the last thing that L Brands did before dissolving as a company into Bath and Body Works and Victoria's Secret, both new public companies, was to sign off on what we call internally the settlement, but it was a shareholder derivative lawsuit. Kind of reads like for the compliance people on call, like corporate integrity agreement or deferred prosecution agreement. It was something that the company settled to sort of close the book on some of the bad behavior of the past at Victoria's Secret from executives that left, some of which was harassment related, some of which was related to models. There's a Hulu documentary you can look at if you want to know more about any of those things. But the company was extremely focused on how do we turn the page? How do we do something different? How do we take this risk area for us, anti-harassment, and do something that would speak to 25,000 associates all over the globe, in stores, in distribution centers, take content that, can be very policy based and rules based and kind of bring it to life. And so we had the urgency driver of the settlement, but we also had this idea that, this is a big risk for our company and something that we really want to get right. And that was sort of pushing us. That's sort of the origin story of the anti-harassment training.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like there was a lot of thought that went into just the brainstorming and the whole creation of all this entire course. So that's really great. Let's also bring it over to Kim. When you were cooking up this training, what was kind of like the big picture goal, your main organizational objectives? Were you hoping to make compliance training less, boring, or was there a big mission at play here?
I don't think we were considering it was a big mission. I think when we consider training, we know that it needs to be real and relevant. And so Billy already talked about, some of that background material that we were able to get from Kasie, even as recent as yesterday, in hearing and discussing some of it, my mouth still drops open. And I'm not typically in real life, in my actual life, surprised by behavior, but it was surprising, and it still remains surprising. So having material that we could craft that really could make sense to all of our associates. That was the first thing, real and relevant. The second was really being able to leverage the new VS & Co. and who we are as a brand and who we wanted to be. So this was all aligned with timing of separation and being able to build out something that looked like us. So it was key that it was custom, and it was key that we were able to build in everything in terms of our brand. So that was the other part of it. And, training always is to educate and inform. And in this particular case, it was to make sure that our associates were safe. And so we needed to talk about a sensitive matter, and we needed to do it in a way that was engaging, but we needed and wanted to do it. The ultimate goal is to protect our associates. So those were some of the drivers for us.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that kind of brings me to the next question, which is very relevant. Since the rollout, were there any specific outcomes that you have seen, any jaw-dropping success stories, or, any wow moments you can share? If you have any metrics, that would be great too. Kasie?
Kasie, I throw it to you for that one.
So as Kim said, right, our goal is to inform and empower. And what did we do with our training? We empowered our associates to know that, hey, something might not be okay, and they should speak up. And so, of course, we have seen just a lift in our speak up reports, just in general. Which has been absolutely great because it's provided us the sort of opportunity to then analyze the types of reports we're getting and then go back to now our store leaders, our DC leaders, and say, hey, looks like we have some opportunities here, whether it's in policy, process, or just in general additional education. And really, it's helped foster even more that speak up culture. So that has been, really fantastic to see, because it means that the training did resonate and we did get through to our audiences, and they are able to say like, hey, like this maybe doesn't feel right, and we're here to listen.
Let's take like a little bit of preparation at sort of the executive level. If that's going to happen, that you're going to do a huge training push like this, and you're going to see a lift in the number of speak up reports, hotline reports that come in. It takes a little bit of education in advance to say like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to push really hard. You're going to see a spike. We're going to have to support it with an investigations team. We're going to be more busy looking at these reports. And part of it is because of the training that we're doing. There's always a spike when you do training. But this one was such a highly visible initiative, especially in stores, that we had to kind of educate people in advance that the spike was coming, and then it did play out that way.
I mean, this is very, I guess, to the point of your the topic that you were just talking about, in terms of any, roadblocks that you've hit during the implementation process. I know that you were talking about spikes in speak up cases, but can you share one or two brief examples of anything that you may have, had issues with?
I'll take that one, and then Billy and Kasie can jump in as well. So we did do a bit of a roadshow when we had our beta version of the video. And we shared it with our key leaders in a lot of our organizations, so in stores, in the DCs, and received some interesting feedback. Interesting, we thought at the time. And some of the feedback that we heard was that it was very emotional. There was an emotional response to the video. And when we thought about it and did our debrief as a team, we realized this was the curse of success. And so we wanted real, relevant information. We wanted to be able to elicit a response. We wanted something that was engaging, and that occurred. And so the byproduct of that is that it was emotional. This is a difficult subject matter and has to be addressed appropriately. So our response, our learning from that was to be able to engage our chief legal officer. And she did a video message that was in our training that talked about the content, that talked about our view as a company and how we protect everyone, encouraging people to speak up, encouraging folks to understand what is appropriate behavior. And so while it was surprising at the time and it lengthened the project slightly, that particular deviation, it ultimately was something that was beneficial.
I'll just add to that. I mean, we did do a good job getting stakeholder input, but we could have done it even earlier. We could have had more of the key players from stores, from distribution centers in particular, international, at the table in the earlier rounds of content development. And we probably would have had to do less rework.
Yeah, definitely. Talk about a almost majority non-computer based associate population. And we immediately partnered with our HR partners, right? They're in the building with our distribution center associates. We got with our DC operations leaders, and we worked through just DC by DC. And each population was different, just in that regard. So we got in and actually facilitated sessions with them to actually set them up for success as they were logging into a computer, logging into our LMS for the first time. Even before that, we had to work with IT to get everyone into the LMS. And, getting out there and just meeting some of the associates. And this is not just your 8 to 5 associate, right? These are 3 shifts. We've got folks working overnight. We've got folks working on the weekend. And our ENC team really stepped up to the plate and leaned in. Our entire team, whether they're photo shoot compliance or third-party risk management or investigators, came to town in different capacities, different times for different DCs, and supported getting in front and reaching out and making those connections with those DC associates, with those DC leaders, and building those relationships, being actually in the DCs and meeting folks for the first time. They've never even met anybody maybe from ethics and compliance before. And now what has that done? That's just opened another channel of communication for them, another speak up channel maybe. And we are now a presence in the DCs, and we know, similar to what Billy said, we will loop them in earlier in the next rounds of our training that we want to build for those populations.
Yeah, I just want to add something as well. It's a true statement. Our entire team not only had an opportunity to facilitate the sessions, but it was an opportunity to build the relationships with the individual associate. And so what we learned about some of the language barriers that exist. We learned about some of the technology barriers that are out there. And we were aware, but until you live it, until you experience it, you just don't have that revelation. So it helped us to be able to close the loop, to have those learnings so that when we go to our different audiences, international stores, DCs, we have these learnings to be able to leverage.
Even within the process of implementing the training, all of you guys have realized, oh, this is what we could do more, and you implemented it while you're doing, what's it called? Just doing the training itself. So that's
Real-time
pretty
response.
incredible.
A
Yeah,
real-time
real-time
response.
response. Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. My last question here is kind of, what's your pro tip for other compliance champions looking to create training like this? That's engaging and is also educational. What's like the one thing you wish you knew before you started?
Stuff I wish I knew. I wish that I had brought people into the process earlier for sure, and had kind of a wider group of stakeholders in the very beginning as we were developing the content and the scenarios. I think I would not underestimate the emotional content of the training. Kim talked about that a little bit, but like maybe we're all jaded and like dead inside. I don't know, but like, I guess we just didn't because we see a lot of real cases. I think we did not fully appreciate that associates have lived some of these scenarios and it was going to affect them. And so that's where we ended up with what we call a trigger warning from our chief legal officer. We added more like meat to the scenarios, so you would find out like what happened afterwards was a big question from people. I want to know what happens afterwards. Were they okay, or like did somebody get fired? Like we had to add a lot of what happens after, which also makes people feel more comfortable with the scenario. But it also means they got invested in our made up characters, which. Like if you're doing that, you're winning. Like if you're getting people to feel something about the training, you are doing a good job.
And asking for an
Um,
ending, right?
They
right.
did.
Like
Yeah,
what
we
happens
built in a
next? Like, you
resolution.
guys care? Like that's good.
Mhm.
So I think I wouldn't have underestimated the emotional content and would have spotted that earlier. But I would have also probably had more confidence that we could be provocative. So I mentioned at the beginning, like we had these real scenarios and then we kind of watered them down. Maybe we didn't need to water some of them down. Like we could have been even pushed the envelope even a little bit more with showing real situations. Like I think we ended up at a good place, but if I had to do it again, I think we could have gone even further. And then I would have probably thought about the distribution strategy and how to get to some of those non-computer based employees earlier as well. So some learnings on the front end, some learnings on the back end, and then like confidence in the content overall, and just not underestimating the emotional content. Those are my 3 learnings / pro tips.
We've already talked about our ANC team came in to facilitate the trainings, But what we did was we built in an intro, and this is actually due to Kasie, who built in an intro in terms of who we are as a team. And we talked about our other policies. Now, I'm a policy person, and for most folks, policies are not exciting. But if we talk about, we have a speak up policy, if we talk about, we have principles of no retaliation, if we talked about, our other policies that are relevant, folks literally in the room were saying, I had no idea. I had no idea we had a code of conduct. I had no idea. They kept saying, I had no idea. And so that was an opportunity for us to be able to say, hey, this is who we are. These are the policies that are here to help and support all of us as associates. And so it just happened organically, but it was great for us to be able to extend our brand, if you will.
I mean, I can certainly just piggyback off of that. Even when you think about it, a lot of what we talk about in these sessions when we're getting and building these relationships with different business segments, whether they're distribution centers or international, it's take us as a partner. We can be, sort of your trusted guide, your trusted advisor. If you have any sort of like just quick, if you need a gut check, like we're here, we are ENC and we're here to help. I think coming back to just a lot of what Billy already said as well is meeting the end users where they are, right? So building out a program, and as we think about, future iterations of and the evolution of our program, it's really now, through this first round of our company-wide initiative of the anti-harassment training, we've built those relationships. And so now it's circling back and, taking our learnings and applying those to the future of our compliance training program.
I love the look into the future. You know, just through this training course alone and all of the other ones that you guys have built out, it sounds like it was a huge learning experience, but also just an overall positive experience for you and the entire company. Um, and ENC is just a thankless function sometimes, and not a lot of people know about it. And I love that through these trainings, you're just bringing so much more awareness to the function, the department, and the importance of it. So, congrats again. And it's clear that your dedication and creativity has really paid off. And it's been amazing to hear about the impact of your award-winning compliance training program. So a huge thank you to your team, Billy, Kasie, and Kim. Thank you so much for your time and just sharing your insights and success stories with us today. We can't wait to see what's next for you and your innovative approach to learning in the near future.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and thanks to LRN for being such a great partner throughout the whole process.
Of course. And to everyone who's watching, thanks for joining us and celebrating this fantastic achievement. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories from our Brandon Hall Awards winners. Until next time, see you.